Are we on?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to Reconnecting Heroes. My name is Heather Harper. I'm joined by my colleague, Casey Withers, who is on the background tonight doing technology for me, thank God. I wanted to say a few things about Reconnecting Heroes. We work for Future Generations University and are partnered with West Virginia Department of Agriculture's Heroes to Agriculture. They provide funding for this program and a lot of resources for this program. We also partner with Mountain Cajun Getaway and U Mountain Center. They are also big partners in this program. And reconnecting, one of our goals for this program is to kind of connect folks, veterans who are already doing some of these enterprises and some of these not alternative, but different forms of agriculture that is not traditional. It's not cattle farming, it's not sheep farming, but it offers opportunities for people to add to their enterprise or start new enterprises to use the land that they have. Some of our past webinars have been veteran farm retreats and forest botanicals, and tonight's is beekeeping. And I'm really excited to have some panelists with us that are not only veterans but are experienced beekeepers. We have tonight with us, we have Jay Cox. He works with the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective as well as Hives for Heroes. And we have Eryck Stamper, who is our good friend and representative from the Department of Agriculture. And he has a lot to share. He's also an experienced beekeeper and has lots of resources. We have another panelist, Eryck Grandon, who is the owner of Sugar Bottom Farms, and he's having a little bit of trouble tonight. We have some weather situations, so he may be joining as well. And so, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jay and let him talk about himself a little bit and what he does.
Hello, my name is Jay Cox. I'm located in Keystone, McDowell County, West Virginia. It's the southernmost county. I am a West Virginia master beekeeper, and I've put together a little presentation. I'm going to switch screens that way I can screen mirror to share the presentation to talk a little bit about the programs of the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective and Hives for Heroes that I participate in. So I'm going to get this presentation pulled up. All right. These are all the beekeepers that I have worked with since I started beekeeping in 2021. I work with beekeepers from all ages, from first responders to veterans to brand new beekeepers to beekeepers that have been beekeeping for a really long time. And these are the people that I work with from day to day. So let me give you a little bit of background information about myself. In 2012, I got my certificate of permaculture design and organic farming at the Regenerative Leadership Institute. In 2013, I got certificates in biology, ecology, chemistry, and astronomy from Coursera. That was an online um, greater education website that people can go to get information and do classes and things. In 2013, I got my certificate in astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial life from Coursera and the University of Edinburgh. In 2014, I wanted to use some of that knowledge in the farming and what I'd learned from biology, and I opened up a farm, Appalachian Valley Organics Farm, and I was one of the three founding members of McDowell County Farms. It was a farming cooperative that focused on vegetable production, and we did farmers markets and a whole host of things in our area to try to bring more diversified and healthy food to the food desert is essentially where we're at, where we don't have access to a lot of healthy foods. In 2017, I opened up a artwork organization and I managed Cold Camp Creations for a while. And in 2020, I come back to farming with Awakened Artwork Farm, and I work with Creekside Farms to grow vegetables again, and that got me into beekeeping. One of the farmers that I was working with was part of the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. He was a veteran. His name was Sylvester Edwards. He took me into his hives, and I went and did the online classes with the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective in 2021, and I became a member and a peer mentor with the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. I currently have 3 apiaries and I manage 65 colonies of my own. And in 2024, I become a mentor for Hives for Heroes. And in 2024, I also went on to get my certification in instrumental insemination. That way, we could help improve the genetics of the bees in our area. And I completed my West Virginia master level beekeepers in 2024. So, the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective is part of Appalachian Headwaters. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's They support a wide variety of environmental programs, and the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective is one of those programs in which I belong to. And there's a link there. It's it's www.abchoney.org. That will get you to the website, and you can learn more about the program of the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. And part of what I do at the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective, I work with over 50 beekeepers of all ages in 31 apiaries throughout 2023 and 2024. And all of these 50 people, they're not members of the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. Some of them are Hives for Heroes members, some of them are just beekeepers in my community at large. But part of my job is to help manage between 250 and 300 plus colonies. That number fluctuates because people lose bees, and then I work with some people on different occasions. My job includes, but it's not limited to, educating beekeepers and assisting them with mite treatments within the ABC protocols. That's organic treatments that we use on our bees if we want a superior, healthy product. I help them with honey supering and extraction. I help them to identify different types of plants that are in bloom and what to do next into the beekeeping task, because it does change throughout the year what you're going to be doing in beekeeping. I help them with splitting their hives and catching swarms, honeybee removal, feeding the bees, sugars and pollen substitute, and anything within the beekeeping community. That's what I'm doing within the beekeeping community, any kind of task that needs done. So I'm going to talk about Hives for Heroes for a second. Hives for Heroes is also a nonprofit organization. It focuses on sustainability, conservation, and providing a healthy transition from service throughout our national network of beekeepers. We provide connection, purpose, and healthy relationships through access, resources, and funding for service members, veterans, and first responders. And I am a mentor with them. When you go to sign up for Hives for Heroes on hivesforheroes.org, you can become a newbie or a mentor. It's a 3 year program that takes you from a newbie to a mentor. And in your first year, you will be assigned to a mentor in your area, and they will come and help you in an apiary. They will show you how to get started into beekeeping, taking you through hives, showing you what tasks need to be done. Upon your second year, your mentor will gift you with a split to get you started with your own bees, and then you continue learning that year. Your mentor works with you, and on your third year, you can become a mentor yourself. So they provide.
Jay, can I stop you for just a second?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. We just somehow got out of practice session. So do you mind to start over?
Yeah, I can start over.
Okay, give me just a second and I'll reintroduce. I'm so sorry. We just now
Okay.
realized it.
Let
So
me go back. Okay.
that's okay.
I'm
Okay, one
going to
second to reintroduce
screen.
the program.
Let me stop sharing, then I'll start over.
Okay, sorry. All right, let's try this again. Good evening and welcome to Reconnecting Heroes. My name is Heather Harper. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Casey Withers, who is running background support technology tonight. We'll get it together, I promise. Our session tonight is on beekeeping, but just a few words about Reconnecting Heroes. We, Future Generations University, we've paired with the West Virginia Department of Agriculture's Heroes to Agriculture program, and they provide not only funding but lots of resources for us to work on this program. And one of our main goals is to connect veterans who might be interested in starting a new enterprise or adding to their operations, or figuring new ways to utilize their land, make extra profits, with veterans who are already doing some of these things and who are experienced in those areas. So tonight, like I said, we have some veterans who are also beekeepers, experienced beekeepers, and have a lot to say about how they got into it and pros and cons of it and what they do and some of the programs that they're working on. Um, Couple housekeeping things. We encourage you to ask questions. That's what we're here for. And just type any of your questions into the Q&A, and we'll try to get them as each person talks. But whatever we don't get to, we can save to the end. But please ask questions. And we'll use the chat for any technical difficulties. So if you can't see or you can't hear, type it in the chat, and Casey will work on that. But yeah, so let's get started. We had 3 panelists. Right now we have 2. One's having some issues getting connected, so he may join at some point. But tonight I have Jay Cox and Eryck Stamper. Jay Cox works with Appalachian Beekeeping Collective and Hives for Heroes and Awakened Artwork. Is that correct?
That's not something I'm currently doing at this time.
Okay. And then Eryck Stamper is our representative. He is a good friend, and he works with the West Virginia Department of Agriculture. So I'll go ahead and get started again. So Jay, take it away.
I'm Jay Cox. I'm located in Keystone, McDowell County, West Virginia, and I am a West Virginia master beekeeper. I work with the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective and House for Heroes. Those are 2 nonprofit organizations, and I'm going to play a slideshow of a little bit about what I do, and I'm going to tell you about both of those programs a little bit and what they've done for me and what they do for other beekeepers. So let me get my presentation pulled up. These are the beekeepers that I work with and mentor, and they are all ages, different groups, veterans, first responders, children. I work in the school system with some of them. Some of them are just beekeepers within the community. Some of them are members of the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective, and some of them are members of Hives for Heroes. So I'm going to talk about the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective first. Um, First, I'm going to do a little presentation myself, and then I'm going to talk about Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. In 2012, I got my certificate in permaculture design and organic farming at the Regenerative Leadership Institute. 2013, I got certificates in biology, ecology, chemistry, and astronomy at Coursera.com. It's an online greater education website. And in 2013, I got my certificate astrobiology in the search for extraterrestrial life at Coursera and the University of Edinburgh. In 2014, I opened up an organic farm called Appalachian Valley Organics, and I was one of the 3 founding members of McDowell County Farms. It was a cooperative of organic farms located in southern West Virginia, and we would all grow crops on our farm and come together under McDowell County Farms to take those crops to market at different venues within school programs and farmers markets that we had created. In 2017, I started an artwork company, and I managed Coal Camp Creations, which was an artwork company. So I got to do a little bit of different things. In 2020, When everything got a little crazy, I decided to go back to farming because you can't really do anything but be outside, right? So I opened Awakened Artwork Farm, and I partnered with Creekside Farms, and we sold vegetables um, at farmers markets and things like that. And I got into beekeeping through one of the farmers that I was working with, Sylvester Edwards, who was a beekeeper with the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. And he told me about their program. And their program, it goes through 13 counties currently in West Virginia and southern West Virginia and parts of Virginia, and they have programs where they help beekeepers get into beekeeping. So I took their classes and I become a peer mentor and a member of the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective in 2021 and 2022 when I become a peer mentor. And I currently have 3 apiaries with 65 registered colonies. In 2024, I became a mentor with the Hives for Heroes group, and I helped train beekeepers in that group. In 2024, I got my certification in instrumental insemination of queen bees, so I can make a I can make different genetics in bees come out through instrumental insemination, help improve the genetics in our local bee stock. And in 2024, I also graduated out of the West Virginia Master Beekeeping Program for the state of West Virginia. So the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective, it's a it's a beekeeping collective under the umbrella of Appalachian Headwaters. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Its primary focus is ecological restoration and environmental education. It creates and supports a wide range of environmental programs in addition to the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective, but we're focusing on bees tonight. And there's a website, it's abchoney.org. You can learn about the beekeepers and some of our beekeeping practices, and it has some of our honey available on there. I work with over 50 beekeepers of all ages and 31 apiaries throughout 23 and 24 of 2020 to help manage between 250 and 300 plus colonies, not included my 65 colonies. Um, we do a lot of different work when it comes to the beekeeping aspect. We train beekeepers first and foremost, but we teach them about mite treatments. We help them manage the mites and pests and diseases in the hive. We help them to identify plants that are coming into bloom. That way they know when and what types of honey they're collecting. We help them with super in their hives. We help them with the honey harvest, with extracting the honey. And ABC, when you become a member of ABC, they help you get started with classes first. And then they have a program that allows you to get bees in the program where they provide the equipment and the bees and a mentor to teach you how to take care of the bees. They provide you with sugar and mite treatments and all the things you need to get started for the first couple of years. And they also buy the honey back, and it goes under the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective umbrella, where it's sold out under one label, and they pay the beekeepers for the honey that is produced. So this is the other organization that I work with, Hives for Heroes. It's a national nonprofit service organization focusing on sustainability, conservation, and providing a healthy transition from service through our national network of beekeepers. We provide connection, purpose, and healthy relationships through access, resources, and funding for service members, veterans, and first responders. When you go to sign up on this website, houseforheroes.org, you can sign up to become a newbie or a mentor. And if you are service person or a veteran or a first responder, you can become a newbie and they help you get started. They will assign you a mentor from your area to help you learn about bees. And you'll go work with this mentor for a year. It's a 3-year program. You can stay in it longer than that, but it generally takes about 3 years. And you start out as a newbie. Your first year, you learn about bees. Your second year, you're gifted a beehive from your mentor, and you continue to work alongside your mentor. And then by year 3, you've been through 2 full years of beekeeping, and you're kind of expected to become a mentor to pay it forward and to continue to grow your apiary and help others learn. So it's a really good program. They have access to different beekeeping networks and education opportunities. They have some funding available for scholarships and different things like that. They do provide you with, I think they provide you with a suit to get started with. That way you can work in the bees and things without taking on any cost to see if it's right for you. And they have resources in the master beekeeping programs for your area. And this is a nationwide program, so it doesn't matter which state you're in. There are mentors and representatives in those states to help you. So that's a really good program to get into. So when I started with the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective, this was my apiary. I started out with 8 colonies of bees, and in my first year, I produced 70 pounds of honey. That was in 2021. And I had the opportunity to work with a lot of people. So I had the opportunity to learn really quickly within the beekeeping community. And it can be really daunting task to get into beekeeping because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you should buy or how you should take care of bees. But the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective and Hives for Heroes, they both have good programs in place that gives you a mentor, and that's going to be your most valuable asset to education to somebody that's already doing it. So this is what my bee situation looks like these days. I have 3 apiaries with 65 colonies. Each apiary has between 20 and 25 colonies, and that number does fluctuate. These are located in southern West Virginia across 2 counties. And I have 65 colonies in 3 apiaries. And last year, we produced 5,317 pounds of honey that was harvested last year, and that's a big difference from 2021 to 2024, from 70 pounds to 5,317. So I can say that the program does work. You just have to get really good at it, and that's all I have. I have some links to my social media accounts. I have a YouTube channel. I have a Facebook that I post educational videos to. Um, I'm gonna stop the screen share and let's see if there is any questions or anything. I'm happy to answer those. All right, that's all I have. So if you guys want to move on, or if you guys have anything that you want me to add, or if there's any questions that the hosts want to throw in here. We're not, I don't see any in the chat box. So
Jay, what first drew you to beekeeping and what appealed to you initially about it?
I've always loved working with animals and plants, and we were already farming. It was the sustainability, and I have a lot of ongoing health issues. So going back to the garden and in the farm and getting better control over my food was key for me. I went through a heart attack at age 29. So when in 2020, when I got back into farming, it was part of my it was part of my rehabilitation process, trying to get my body fit again. So being outside was the best thing that I can do. I was walking a lot, and that was right when COVID hit. So the the rehabilitation center at the hospital had shut down. So I kind of got back into farming that way. And I've always been interested in bees. And the farmer that I was working with, Sylvester Edwards, he already had bees. So it was no brainer for me to get into bees. As soon as he took me into his bees, I was just, I love the whole thing. And coming from a background of biology and things like that, like I really understood what was going on. So it didn't take much integration for me. Like I just, as soon as I got in there, it's like I felt like I had been called to do that my whole life. And beekeeping's been in my family for I don't know how many generations, but my grandmother said that her father was a farmer and her uncles were beekeepers. And unfortunately, I didn't meet any of them to get to learn that knowledge from. A lot of people from that time had gardens and bees, so it's kind of a heritage thing too. It just felt like it was the right thing to do. And I was already doing farming. So I wanted to help the people around me, help my community have more food, a better choice of food. And there's farmers are definitely needed, but beekeepers are needed more so than farmers because bees are what feeds the world. Like 70 to 80% of everything that we eat wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for honeybees, because even like the meats that we eat like beef and chicken, like those crops of food, um they need like barley and different types of grains to feed beef and chickens, and a lot of that comes from honeybee pollination. Like all the most of the fruit that we eat at from the store, it needs honeybee pollination. Nuts, almonds, like that's a major, like blueberries, almonds, like just about everything that we eat comes from the bees. And I was like, where can I be the most impactful? And with having health issues, like I can't really work like normal people. I can't do a normal job. Like I'm not physically able to do certain things. So when I'm doing beekeeping, I always have some help within the program. uh,
Mhm.
I can work at my own pace or not work. And, I can't really call it work because the bees do all the work. I'm
Yeah,
just in there looking around. I'm just looking around. I'm not really doing a whole lot of work.
right. Do you feel like as an enterprise, I mean, you said over how much? 5,000 pounds last year?
5,317 pounds is what we did.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, with the drought too, because I mean, I had issues with the drought conditions, but that's a good. But do you feel like for just average person starting out, I mean, other than there's, definitely physical health benefits, but also mental health benefits. But do you feel like it's a good enterprise for someone just starting out to make maybe not all of their income, but to add income to their operation or to add an extra source of income? Do you feel like that's a good enterprise to start?
Well, it's definitely, especially if you're already doing some kind of farming or something, like it's definitely an added bonus because you're not only getting honey, you can make beeswax products, you can make like soaps, lip balms, you can make candles, you can make salves and lotions, you can make mead from the honey. There's just a whole host of other things, and it's going to add to your production. Like if you have an orchard, you're going to produce more fruit. It's going to definitely help. But one thing that I can say, it can be a money trap if you just think you're going to buy bees and be good at it. If you
Yeah.
don't have a mentor or somebody to help you go through there, it can be a major money loss. And I can say that I would not have been able to afford beekeeping without the programs that without the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective helping me get into beekeeping. I probably would have never done it on my own.
Yeah. I have a question from one of the folks, participants. Is this program Hives for Heroes something a vet can join if they're currently a beekeeper?
Absolutely. If they're already a beekeeper, they can become a mentor. Or if they're already a vet and they're trying to get better at beekeeping, they can sign up as a newbie as well.
Okay, awesome. And we can probably provide a link if we haven't in the chat for that a little bit later. That's all the questions I see right now. So we'll move on and let Eryck talk. But I did want to say I can speak to Appalachian Beekeeping Collective. That was how I learned through Mark Lilly's classes. And so yeah, so that's a great program for just about anybody. But yeah, so go ahead, Eryck. I'll turn it over to you. Make sure there's no other questions. I don't see anything.
Alrighty, great. Thank you for having me, Heather and Casey. It's great to be part of this program. Reconnecting Heroes is amazing. One of our goals here at the Department of Agriculture is supporting our veterans and our heroes already engaged or interested in agriculture. And without a doubt, beekeeping is an agriculture value-added commodity here in West Virginia. I'm Eryck Stamper. I'm with the West Virginia Department of Agriculture, our Veterans and Heroes to Ag program. So good to be here and be partnered with future generations. Jay, the truth is out there without a doubt. Some of the discussions you shared is truly a testament to what I feel, and even we'll share almost redundantly of what we're talking about. The benefits of bees are not only economically beneficial for our state of West Virginia, but there's a lot of therapeutic value to beekeeping as well. So I'm here to talk about a program, a little bit about my history and what we've got going on in West Virginia. So I retired from the Navy in 2013, retired from 23 years of service, and really was confused about what I was going to do as a career after I got out. I floated around, had a couple different low-level jobs, and realized it was time to do something different in life. I got into therapeutic agriculture through a VA Farms program back in the day. Utilized my Voc and Rehab benefits, which is now called VRNE, and basically allowed the federal government, the VA healthcare facility, to not only give me a stipend to get education and training to get back into the job market, but also supporting a nonprofit I was then just becoming a student of called TALMAR, Therapeutic Alternatives of Maryland. It's an agriculture therapeutic program for Maryland residents. I also at the time learned about nonprofit support and how important and a critical role that they play in taking care of our veterans. So a little bit about our program here real quick. The Veterans and Heroes Ag program, we've got a lot of good information to share to our memberships. Right now, we've got about 4,600 registered veterans in the state of West Virginia. We see almost just about 500 of those in our Vets and Heroes to Ag program. We offer a lot of good educational training opportunities. We have a $600 a year scholarship grant for those engaged or interested in agriculture, like bees, for example, to get some higher skill sets. That can be utilized for a lot of different things like conferences, training, education. At the same time, we offer grant opportunities. Right now, we're working with a few organizations in the beekeeping space, a few of the nonprofits, and a few of our West Virginia organizations. So those are just some of the things that we like to do. Right now, we're in the middle of a $60,000 pitch competition. This is something that our memberships have access to. We've got about 11 inputs, and that $60,000 is one way to beef up your existing agricultural pursuits on your own farm, or kind of expand into some other markets, as well as supporting agriculture in West Virginia. So it's just an example of some of the great things that we're offering here. Obviously, we're a state-run program. Membership is free. We've got a lot of great partnerships, one in particular that I feel very close to, which is why beekeeping I find is equally important in agriculture and therapy. So beekeeping is critical. We've talked a little bit about the educational, a little bit about the therapeutic, and some of the economic impacts of beekeeping. When I got out the military, I was lost and confused, not knowing what I was going to do. That agriculture took me a whole different level. When I was out there at the farm, they had a couple beehives that nobody was messing with. They were kind of afraid to go around and cut the grass. But over a few months of being there, I just kind of found myself getting closer and closer to the bees. I was always interested in beekeeping, never as a profession, but just as, just as an interest. I grew up with honey ever since I was very young. My grandmother would give us a little low caffeinated cup of coffee in the morning with some cream, and she would put honey in it. I still do that today. I take my honey in all sorts of ways. The honey obviously is it's important for our body. Those nectars and those pollens and the honey itself is coming from the fields that are local to us. And so all those flavonoids, terpenes, and all those profiles from the honey does a very exciting thing with our body, both in and out. Some of my darker days, after trying to figure out what life had in store for me up there at the farm, started working with the bees and kind of coined the term hands in a hive help me stay alive. And you heard Jay talk about some of the troubles he's had with some of his physical ailments and how he's struggling to get back into, the work environment. So the beekeeping idea is truly, truly from a therapeutic standpoint critical. And I'll talk a little bit about that. If you didn't know, bees resonate and buzz around at the frequency of C. The frequency of C is unique. That's the same frequency as a therapeutic blanket puts off. So you're already starting to see how some of this therapeutic principles can come into play. When they're out there in the fields collecting pollen, and bringing it back to the hive to produce honey, these are full of terpenes. And I'll give you an example. We like to use aromatherapy as a good example. If you're out there in the fields and you're growing lavender, fields full of lavender produce good, quality honey. But at the same time, the terpene in lavender is linalool. Linalool, actually, if you know that, is a smooth, soothing, kind, gentle type of feeling. So when we're consuming our honey, we're ingesting some of these profiles, which, again, have some of that therapeutic value. From an educational standpoint, we'll touch on this as well. Here in West Virginia, we've got a lot of great beekeeping organizations, clubs, associations. I'm a member myself of the West Virginia Beekeepers Association and the Multnomah County Beekeepers Association. So some great programming. A lot of it is free. Some of it you have to pay for, and we'll get into some of that here. And so there's some great training. Jay as well does training. I've seen him out there in some of his organizations with his mentees supporting the education piece. And from an economic standpoint, my God, over 5,000, just about 6,000, gallons of honey is incredible. So I know what I'm spending for honey. You times that about, 8 to 9 each. There's some good substantial cash flow coming into some of these beekeeping programs. Interesting story. I'll jump ahead in some of the discussion here. We recently had a lawsuit. South Charleston apiary producer was having some issues with his local city, and they basically denied him access to have honeybees in his yard. We heard about this. We engaged with Mr. Urban with his lawsuit, and in the end, we won that lawsuit. And this just happened the other day. And this is something very important. One, for the state of West Virginia, it allows all the residents to be beekeepers and support their agriculture pursuits. Critical about the right to farm. So if you're in agriculture and you know about the right to farm, this is something that just hit down recently, and we have won in that pursuit. So I wanted to have a quote here from the commissioner directly. Beekeeping is a crucial component of agriculture and environmental sustainability, and we are committed to protecting those who contribute to our state's food systems. And that tells you how important beekeeping is. When our commissioner assumed his role back in 2012, he's a former Marine, and he is very familiar with how important agriculture, including beekeeping, can be to our economy in West Virginia, equally to the therapeutic health that it's providing us. So that's just a tribute to what we think the importance of beekeeping is in West Virginia. Wanted to touch a little bit about some of the programs we have here. There's an amazing program called the West Virginia Honey Trail. That's a collective from the West Virginia Department of Agriculture, the Mullen County Beekeepers Association, as well as Mountaineer Country, which is our tourist board. Right now, the last I checked, there was just about 100 locations in the state of West Virginia where you could actually go purchase honey. These are places like restaurants, coffee shops, working farms, and locations of that nature, niche industries. Basically, this allows West Virginians and tourists coming in through our agritourism business to find new locations, to participate in local dining, local camaraderie, local economy. And so it's just a great opportunity from a tourist perspective to find. It's an app you can use. It's on the website to find these locations and participate. And it's really about extending our pollinator programs here in West Virginia. We love our wildflowers and we love our bees. So this is just a way to showcase West Virginia at its finest. We talked a little bit about access to those local bee associations. I found it very enjoyable, very educational. I continue to go to these clubs, go to these meetings to get the training and the education. And really, for me, it's almost like being in the military. We're talking about reconnecting our heroes here. We have a close-knit society in our branches. Sometimes we have a lot of fun and humor between our branches. But in the end, we're all about camaraderie and teamwork. And what I found in our beekeeping community, it's just like that. These close-knit groups are working so well together with each other, organizations supporting other organizations. It's really one big team here in West Virginia. So, if you're interested in beekeeping, I strongly urge you to join your local beekeepers club, find a mentor like Jay to keep you going. And, it's just amazing what these clubs can do. I know one club close by just got a grant with the local school system. So, they're supporting programming and teaching our youth in school about beekeeping and education. That's kind of what we're trying to do here with Department of Agriculture, is support the expansion and the economic benefit of beekeeping. I have a note here to talk about efforts that we're doing at the Veterans Administration. So West Virginia is a big state, believe it or not. We've got 55 counties and we're spread far and wide. Our veterans, we find homes in a lot of these locations down in the hollers and in the cities and out in our rural communities to big cities. We have a very good network of Veterans Administration healthcare programs that I believe we have. And each one of them has their own capabilities and support system for our veterans, not just our veterans, but their own staff. And if we know veterans hospitals, a lot of their staff are veterans themselves. So we're developing some curriculum right now in some of our VA hospitals. We're working close partnerships with leadership at the hospitals to start engaging in some beekeeping programs. First off, I'd like to say kudos to VA Clarksburg for engaging very deeply with the Department of Agriculture. We're near the end of some of our ramping up programming, and if things go right, we'll be starting off some bee classes first week in April. We're doing some efforts, and we've got our feelers out in the Martinsburg VA area. We've had some conversations with them, and they're interested in some potential beekeeping programming as well. So that's really critical and important. Thirdly, VA Huntington has an amazing program over there with beekeeping as well as agriculture. And we're equally trying to establish some relationships out there as well. And if you look at a map, that's spread directly across the state. So with this strategic, I like to try to use my military strategic thinking about how we're going about things. And it looks like, we can cover the whole state of West Virginia with some amazing programming that's free to our veterans in our program, as well as our heroes. Let me talk about some of the nonprofits that I've experienced throughout my time. Jay, you're working with one of the great ones right now. And this is one of the programs that we're working with Clarksburg. So the Highs for Heroes program, it's an online mentorship program. Jay shared all the information. So they're doing great things nationally. supporting beekeepers and mentorship programs. So we've engaged with them and we're working on some programming. Another nonprofit that I have experience with is Mission Believe. They're based out of Maryland, and they have a therapeutic bee house, and they have an amazing program. Both of these two programs are for veterans, active duty service members, and first responders. We also have another organization called Heroes to Hives, another nonprofit supporting veterans and active duty in beekeeping. These are, in my opinion, the top 3 beekeeping programs that our nation has, and we're working hard to bring each to West Virginia. That's not to say there's other programs out there, which there are, and we would love to continue engaging. So just keep that in mind. And this program is critical, and we're engaging at our VA facilities and in our communities. Had a little discussion with our state apiarist, Shonda King. She wanted to make sure I highlighted some topics for our, potential beekeepers. As you know, there's an annual requirement to register your hives. So please go online. It's a very simple application process. Register your hives. At that registration time, you can also request a free courtesy inspection. And who doesn't want somebody from, an amazing position, top of the state, looking at your bees, giving you advice, giving you assistance, and that's really what we're here for. With that, there's a program called the Field Watch program, and this is a software application designed for, it's a communication tool for pesticide utilization, interacting with the user. So that's something you could download and look at. We also have a nuke share program with the West Virginia Conservation Agency. So those folks looking for nucleuses to start some operations, there's some programming through the Conservation Agency. Finally, we're coming from a severe drought, and a lot of our agriculture industry has been drastically impacted. One producer lost over 65% of their hives, and we're hearing a lot of stories about loss of hives, and is there anything that can be done about this? If your hives are registered as part of our program in the state, we've got ELAP insurance, and this is a beneficial insurance to help in recovery. So take a look at some of those drought recovery programs that are out there. I know the deadlines are coming real close. So that's something that are not just our veterans and heroes, but all beekeepers in West Virginia can have access to. From an agriculture standpoint, Jay, you hit it real hard on the head. When we talk about honey, well, there's a lot more than just honey coming from bees. So, you got that value added aspect of just honey. You got the wax that you can do things with. It's amazing what end state and end products could be developed from honey. Let's see. I guess that's pretty much the deep blunt of what we do here at the Department of Agriculture. I've got a lot of links that I will share here after I jump off. But I also want to talk a little about the Farmer Veteran Coalition if you're a veteran in West Virginia. So the Farmer Veteran Coalition is another nonprofit national organization taking care of farming, agriculture needs for our veterans. So I'll put that in there. Please take a look at what they offer. There's some great grant opportunities, training, education, suicide prevention, which is critical. And while we're on that topic, this is really what got me into beekeeping to begin with. Violating my own HIPAA and privacy. I was lost. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted to do. There were some times where I was losing some good friends through, suicide, through addiction problems. And I have found in the beekeeping community, like I said, Hands and Hives helped me stay alive. So beekeeping is truly exciting. Beekeeping has saved my life, and I know it's definitely capable of saving other people's lives too. So without further ado, I think I've covered about what I believe I could. Keep in mind, real quick, we got a bunch of bee conferences coming up. The West Virginia Beekeepers Conference is in March. Hives of Heroes is kicking off some training. Mission Believe is kicking off some training. Heroes of Hives kicking off training, and all your local Associations are firing off training. So please engage that training. If you're a veteran and a hero in our program, that training is going to be free to you. So that's something I want you to keep in mind as you're thinking about beekeeping or thinking about agriculture as a potential opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Eryck. That was awesome. And I know you have some resources to share. I did have a question here. One of the questions was, what kind of losses does ELAP cover?
Sure. I wish I had the specific data. I will, before we get off here, pull up an ELAP link to you, and then we can go check out the eligibility right there. So basically, it's covering losses of hives. With that said, I should have added, if you got an electric fence up around your hives and a bear gets into them, your hives will be covered for replacement as well. So there are some protective measures.
Okay, and then this is in the chat for everyone. Everyone should be able to see it, but someone said they have some free virtual beginner beekeeping classes starting February 11th, and there's a link for that as well. And all these links that we share in the chat, I believe that I have emails for most everyone that's registered, so I can email those out later too if that's helpful. So yeah, let me see if there's any other questions here. I don't want to miss anything.
And I'm going to start putting in some of these links as well.
Okay. Yeah, here we have a question. What advice would you give, and this is for either or both of you, what advice would you give to someone that wants to become involved in beekeeping but does have an allergy to bee stings? How often do you get stung while tending to your bees?
I'll jump on that briefly. We all can answer some of that. So it's always important, obviously, to know if you have allergies to the bee sting. We won't talk about bee sting therapy. That's a whole different discussion. But yes, some people do have those allergies. The important part is keeping an EpiPen on hand. If you do, I know beekeepers who have severe allergies, and it has not stopped them from beekeeping. They use an EpiPen. They let people know when they're going into the hives. If, just as a safety factors, we talk about the buddy system. Don't do it alone if that's an issue or concern. Know your, emergency outs. How you're going to get to the hospital. You're going to call 911 or you got somebody to help you. So I personally have been stung more outside of the bee community than in the bee community. Sometimes there's some humor that goes with bee stings, and it's all part of the draw of beekeeping. Professionally, if you want to call it that, I'm definitely not a professional, but I would say I've been stung maybe 3 times in a couple of years. Yeah, you get the itching, the swelling, and all of that goes with it. But over time, it goes down, the swelling goes down, and I can humor this and say that's where some of the synergistic impact of the bee venom can come in. People with arthritis or have other ailments, there is that therapy side, but that's a complete different discussion.
So I get stung. I work with bees in the spring. I usually start working the bees every day. Sometime in March, I'm in bees, in either my bees or somebody else's bees, and I don't work with gloves. So the biggest thing is getting good protection. Pay for that jacket, even if it costs more. Don't get the one on Amazon. I can tell you from experience that they will stop some stings, but the reality of it is if you're working with bees, you're going to get stung. And for somebody that's allergic, I would first ask the question, are you allergic to honeybee venom or other bee venom? Because other bees, such as wasps, they have different chemical makeup of their bee venom. So you could be allergic to yellow jackets and wasps, but not be allergic to honeybees. So that would have to be something that you would have to find out from your doctor. If that's something, keeping an EpiPen, like Eryck said, on hand is another good rule. Like I have read things about people developing allergies to bees because being exposed to the venom externally as opposed to internally. I get stung multiple times, usually multiple times per day, every day. So the tolerance in my system, I couldn't tell you how many times I've been stung. I know the most I've been stung in one day was over 120 times. And it's because I bought a suit on Amazon and very quickly learned that I needed to get a bet. It was my first season when I showed you that picture of those 8 hives. That my apiary grew to 13 colonies that year, and we was getting ready to rob honey. I had on my little Amazon suit, and I was like, well, I've been stung by bees before. I can handle a couple stings. And they would get me around my wrist, or they would get through the suit sometimes. It was really thin cotton material. The only place that didn't get stung was my head. So I guess that's the goal. All the stings that I got that day were in my arms and in my hands. And I went into the first hive and I got 2 or 3 stings. I was like, well, I can handle a couple things. I'm a beekeeper. I went into the next one. I got about 5. And I was like, man, that one hurt a little bit more. I went into the next one. I might have gotten 2. And I was like, well, that one wasn't so bad. I can do this. 5 at that one, 2 at this one. When I went into that next one, I probably got about 12 stings because I remember by the time I got to the 5th one, I was like, that one hurt a little. When I finished out the day, my wife took a marker and she circled the bee stings on my arms. I had over 120 stings, so I went and got a suit immediately, a better suit, a triple vented suit, full body suit. So my first year, I went from a very poor suit to a suit that was very overkill. So now I just work in a bee jacket. I don't use gloves. If you're moving slow, you're taking your time, you're not likely to get, well, I can't say you're not likely to get stung because you're going to get stung. That's the reality. You're less likely to get stung if you're moving slow, you're taking your time. The bees, they'll react how you handle them. So yeah, if you're going to keep bees, you're going to get stung. I would check and see if you're actually allergic to honeybee venom or if it's just other types of bee venom.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And again, like Jay mentioned, if it is an allergy issue, then yes, definitely check with your doctor and about your allergy. But along the same lines as what he was talking about, I call that being one with the bees and moving slowly and gently and through. And it's really cathartic. It's really a good experience. And as far as stings, yeah, you're both right. Like you're going to get stung. I've been stung usually at least once a season. The most I had was 11 at once, and that was moving a hive. We thought we had the entrance closed off. It was an evening, and we thought we had it, and we're carrying it. And now, I'm getting stung on the thighs. But the thing you learn with beekeeping is you really, it teaches you to be patient and gentle because you get stung, you can't throw things or drop the hive or you just have to roll with it until you can set things down and deal with it. And because I mean if you start moving around quickly they're going to come at you. So yeah. But thank you guys. I don't see any more questions. If anyone else has a question, please speak up. You can put it in the Q&A. I've looked through the chats too because we had a few in there and I think we have everything.
I think there is one that kind of got through the cracks, which was just, are you all acquainted with the American Beekeeping Federation?
I'm not quite sure what that is.
I'm not familiar with it, but I'll definitely look into it. I saw that in the chat myself.
I was having trouble getting to the chat because I was private messaging the hosts. I had to fix my settings there. So I know this is a little, it's not really off topic, but I know we were kind of doing introductions about programs. I'd like to take a couple minutes and just talk about bees in general for beekeepers that want to get started into bees. I would say that you should definitely work with a work with an existing beekeeper. Go into some beehives first before you decide to jump in head first. There's plenty of educational programs out there. Is like there's millions of resources, videos on YouTube that you could watch, different beekeepers, different perspectives. Beekeeping is going to be different in every area. You're going to have some areas that are completely different than other areas. And local honey doesn't mean that it was just right down the road from your house. Local honey is it's a loosely used term that people think that they have to buy honey from their neighborhood for it to apply to them. Local honey just means that the bees are collecting pollens and nectars from plants that are in your area. So it could be the next state over that has the same types of plants and pollens that's in your area. You're going to get the same benefits from those. But beekeeping is very regional. Like I have 3 bee yards and they're all within 20 miles of each other, but they produce different honeys, different crops. And this time of year, if there's any beekeepers that's already on here, we're talking to air clubs, talking about what should we be doing in our bees this time of year, and this sort of thing, and that sort of thing. And this time of year, you can't really do a whole lot. You could do mite treatments in the form of vapor. It's a good time of year to get a little bit of that in, but emergency feed is a big thing because even though some of the bees have made it to this point, like they could still starve to death, and you don't want to feed like liquid water, so you want to put like some kind of hard sugar in there, like candy boards. A good recipe for that is 9 parts sugar, 1 part water. If there's any existing beekeepers or anybody that's watching this that's not live that are wondering what they should be doing this time of year, you don't want to be inspecting brood right now because you could cause bee loss. So it's a really quick in and out thing. So you put the feed in there and you get out. But at the end of this month, we should start seeing in our area of West Virginia and I guess surrounding areas. I'm not really sure. It's very regional. You're going to start to see maple blooming, and in the southern parts of the country, they've probably already got some maple blooming and stuff. That's going to be some of the first nectar sources that the bees are going to be pulling from. And we normally do a little bit of pollen substitute feeding at the end of February just to get the brood kicking a little bit. And you don't want to continue to feed pollen because you can cause a lot of brood to build up. And we have been known to get snows in April before. So you don't want to build up this big population and cause it to crash with them not having nectar to feed that amount of bees. So, that's pretty much all you really do this time is do a little bit of emergency feed with hard sugar. Now is the time of year to be ordering your packages and doing your beekeeping classes. There's going to be every club that I know of. They've got some sort of beekeeping classes. There's a lot of free ones out there too. I think one was put in the chat where they have beekeeping classes with Mission Believe. ABC currently has some beekeeping classes going on every Tuesday now, and every beekeeping club I know has beekeeping classes. So if you're wanting to get into beekeeping, don't just jump in and think that you're going to put some bees in a box and you're going to make some honey. There's a lot more to it than that. You can lose a lot of money. And just because you lose your bees once, don't give up if you lose your bees. And starting with one hive, it's a lot harder to get one hive off of the ground than it is to get at least 2. You need at least 2. I would say 3 as a minimum. But I manage 65, and it can be a lot. It can get out of hand very quick, especially if you get good at it. You're catching swarms, you're making splits, all of that. You just have to start somewhere. And I would start with at least 2. That way you can have something to compare the hives to. If you have a problem go wrong in one, you can fix it with the other one. You can add brood from the stronger one to a weaker one, or you can get difference in genetics. There's a lot to it. Just don't give up. Get somebody that's already into bees to go into bees with you, go into their bees with them, get into your local clubs. Just about every county has a local club, or there's programs out there. The beekeeping community is so great because when I got into beekeeping, I wasn't really peoply. I didn't really like to speak around people. I didn't really like to be around a lot of people, but when I came into the beekeeping community, it changed me internally. It helped me become a better person. It helped me get rid of that shyness. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about, because nobody knows what they're talking about. We just get better at it. We improve. We move on. It helps you become part of a community, especially like if you have some kind of anxiety about being around people. Like, the beekeeping community brings you back to the community. It brings you back to be something bigger than yourself. I would recommend it for anybody. Just like Eryck was talking about, them vibrating at a frequency. There's so many health benefits. Even getting stung by bees, the venom is beneficial for your body's immune system. Like, when you breathe in the wax from the hive, working with beeswax, making like lip balms and salves, we learned that beeswax produces negative ions. So the negative ions, they bond with free radicals like diseases, bacteria, viruses, things like that. It bonds with them and it helps clean out your body internally. So when you breathe into a beehive and you smell that, like, you're helping your immune system get stronger too. So yeah, education. That's education.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I don't see any more questions, and I've run through some of this. Again, there's lots of links in the chat, but I will try next week, early next week, to send out some emails with some of this information in it. To folks who've registered, and we've put the information, Eryck's information on how to reach him, and I think some of the other information on contacting us if you need to get in touch in the chat. But thank you all so much. We appreciate your you coming to join us tonight and all of your experience and expertise. I hope you have a good evening.
About honey samples, look me up.
Yeah, I've just been checking on mine every now and then, listening for that buzz, making sure everybody's okay. I've not wanted to pop the lid though, because it's been pretty cold here, but soon it's coming. All right. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your evening. Good
All right.
night.
Pleasure. Thank you.